Good, good. I think you asked me after that point release came out if that solved, or you mentioned that it solved your battery issues, and I'd said I wasn't sure yet because I had only used it a day and I couldn't quite tell. And I will say, yeah, it definitely has. I'm not sure if it's. I can't. It's only been. I've only had. I updated it Friday night, and then I think it was Friday night, and then I used it Saturday, and then actually did a full, got a charged it up fully Sunday night. So I took it off the charger Sunday morning around 10 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 or 9 or 10 a.m. With 100% charge, and I am on that same charge with 4% battery left. And at 10% today, I put it in low power mode. So I'm pretty sure it's back to maybe not quite where it was with watchOS 10, but pretty damn close. Like if Apple had released Watch 11.0.1 as just 11, I would have never noticed.
What I find fascinating about it is that I never saw that drain while it was in beta.
Oh, interesting.
Because that's something I would have picked up on pretty quickly then too. But I ran the 11 beta up until the general release without any issues.
That is quite interesting.
So that it just means that something was added for the general release that was not in the beta, or maybe it was access to the API that was opened to everybody and not restricted to Apple for testing purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Something was definitely different.
Have you found anything else to be problematic with releases?
No, ever since the point updates, everything's been what I recall, which was stable and fully functional.
I haven't done the point update for Sequoia, and I don't. Was there one for iOS 18?
There was one for iOS. Well, I think it called out some iPhone 16 specific things, so it might not have been widespread. I'd have to go back and look and see if my 15 updated.
I'm looking to see if mine did. Oh yeah, it did. There's an 18.0.1. I remember thinking that it was going to address something, but I don't remember, because now I remember actually doing it. I was like, oh yeah, I need that fix because I was experiencing it. Anyway, yeah. So, how's life? What's been going on?
I can't think of anything new or different. I don't know. At this point, it's just been trying to keep going with soccer season and all. So I honestly, couldn't tell you.
I understand. I get it. Some stuff just runs together, and
I mean, it's just kind of the same cycle of professional networking, personal errands, personal projects, soccer.
Yeah. How is the season going?
Not very well.
Oh,
so the first match was postponed. We're still in the process of rescheduling it because that was weather.
Yeah, we had the same thing.
Second match lost by 1 point, so it was 2-1. That one wasn't bad. The referee decisions kind of got us in that one. I don't agree with them, but whatever. It is what it is. The next one, though, was like a 9-0 destroy. And then we played the same team that we lost 2-1 to and lost 4-0. No, 4-2. Sorry, 4-2. Because we ended up coming back and scoring 2. So 2 matches weren't bad, but the one made me question whether I was doing something horrifically wrong as a coach as well.
Right.
But that particular day, they just didn't show up to play. So,
I mean, there's only so much you can do. There's a string of Manchester United managers that will tell you just that.
How about you? Anything new?
I was gonna say, I guess my life updates include. I don't remember if I mentioned this or not. At this point, I am the lightest I've ever weighed in 8 years.
Nice.
Yeah, almost. Did I talk about this last week?
No.
Okay, so I'm between. With daily fluctuations, I am 15 to 20 pounds uh, lighter than I was before COVID, and I'm working with my. It's to the point where like I've been, I was on a cocktail of 3 different drugs for managing my blood pressure. One of them I got taken off of, and now I'm like, my doctor said, "Hey, I need you to take your blood pressure several times a day because I'm getting dizzy, and sometimes when I stand up, like going from like a sitting, like it's going from like sitting on the ground to standing all the way up, or lying on the ground going all the way up, I get dizzy. It doesn't happen when I get out of bed. Doesn't happen when I get out of a chair." But it definitely over the weekend I did a lot of manual work, and it was happening. Uh, I blacked out maybe a dozen times over the weekend just going from a sitting position to a standing position. I was taking my blood pressure, and it's like at one point it was like 100/60, and so we're having to like figure out my blood pressure medication because it's too aggressive. So that's good. It kind of sucks to like I'm trying to do work and I'm like becoming very uncomfortable and blacking out. That's not fun, but it's nice to be able to be in better condition. Some clothes that I bought 4 years ago they weren't ill fitting, but they got to, over the course of the pandemic when I gained some weight, I couldn't wear them. They're now loose on me. They were snug when I bought them, and then they went to where like, oh, I'm not going to wear these right now, to being loose on me today, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's certainly nice to see that transition.
Yeah.
It's funny. Last week I think it was. Yeah, it had to be. So some jeans that I had bought two years ago, I think. So at the kind of transition between losing all the weight and starting jujitsu. So somewhere in that period of time, I had purchased some jeans that I can no longer wear. The waist cinches too tight, but my waist for everything else hasn't seemed to have changed.
Okay.
So I think it's just the upper, like the thigh and everything else in those jeans is just too tight, which makes the waist expand more.
Yeah.
So I know we talked about it at some point, when I was talking about having to figure out the athletic build and how jeans fit. And so I just ordered, it's basically the same jean, one size up in the waist to see. And those fit, but they fit snug. But predominantly where they fit snug is in the thigh. And so that's what makes me think the waist is probably even fine with the other ones, but it's the expansion around the thigh that makes the waist not be able to close all the way in the other pair. So, but it's the same thing that I've encountered over the past 4 years is every so often there's another shift or transition just because of my activity level and still finding changes in clothing.
Truly the problem to want to have,
Very much so. I would much rather have it be this specific problem than back to when I was constantly increasing sizes because I was increasing sizes.
Right. In places that you're like, no, this is not where I want to be increasing sizes. So
Right.
So I was going to ask you. I feel like there's like a decent amount of discussion that could be had here, but do you have like a particular type of brand of jeans that you like, or style, or do you just like, okay, this one looks good today, and there's no, you have every jean is a different kind of jean? Are you?
It's kind of both. So I've got two pairs from Revtown, two from no, only one from Mont and Bow. No, two. I've got two different colors in that jean because that's when I was trying to figure out why gray jeans always fit so much looser than blue jeans. I don't understand it. But every brand I've tried, I can get the same size in the two colorways, and gray is always looser. Makes no sense to me. And same thing with Levi's.
Maybe the manufacturing process or the dyeing process affects them in that way.
Maybe I don't get it. I don't know if maybe the others, because the others are typically advertised specifically as stonewashed. So I wonder if something in that process tightens them up more. But either way, it was just kind of an oddity because I ordered a couple of different pair of Levi's, thinking, all right, well, I'll try the gray jeans here, and I had the exact same thing happen that I had happened with the Mott & Bows. So I actually have multiple pair of Levi's at this point because those tend to be the ones that fit me better out of all the different brands I've tried. But then I also have a pair from Aviator that I bought back prior to, or I bought my first pair from them prior to our European trip because they make a quote unquote travel jean that has some hidden zipper pockets. So, like you could put the passport in a zipper pocket and then have, wallet with a card or two in another pocket or something. Just for added security from that perspective. But I liked them. And so when I dropped waist sizes, I went ahead and got another pair of theirs that would fit just to have a travel jean, quote unquote. So those I don't wear all that often. But then the Levi's and the Mott & Bow are the ones that I typically go to, and the Revtown. Like I do rotate them through pretty consistently.
Cool. I was interested because I remember once trying to figure out jeans for myself when I was in my 20s, and because I can remember like having some old Navy jeans that fell apart on me earlier than I would have expected them to, and then I can't remember. I ended up with some Levi jeans that I don't remember how, and then I jumped. I feels like every Apple store I've worked at has been in relative close proximity to a Lucky Brand jeans, and so I did Lucky Brand for a while and discovered the benefits of button fly. And I was a fan of those, but then I switched back to Levi because I didn't want to pay the Lucky Brand price, and I found a fit of jean that I like from Levi's, and the only thing I miss from them is that the cut that I like they don't make in a button fly, so I just wear Levi's. I had a pair. So I had a pair. I had an occasion to Friday night to wear jeans, and I hadn't tried wearing them any jeans since last summer because it's been summertime and warm enough. And but there was a pair of jeans that I wore. I don't know. I couldn't wear them last winter. Like I never wore them because they were just too uncomfortably tight. And now they're well-fitting, maybe on the way to starting to be loose, and I was pretty happy about that.
Nice.
Yeah. So I've just been wearing Levi jeans for the last, I don't know, 10 to 15 years.
And so over history, like I started out predominantly wearing Wrangler and Levi at some point, just growing up. I'm sure that's just because they were the most accessible and least expensive brands at the time. Eventually made my way to Eddie Bauer for pretty much all pants, so jeans, pants, etc. And then at some point, their styles disappointed me, and I moved to Gap for their jeans. And then
I tried Gap jeans. They did not work out for me.
They actually worked pretty well for me up until they changed styles again. And then that's when I went to Lucky Brand, actually. And then I think after that is when I went to American Eagle. And then after that was Revtown / Levi's. And I've been kind of searching for my preference, but Levi's tend to be the ones that are most comfortable and most repeatedly findable in a comfortable fit.
Did you ever do? I feel like in the '90s, Tommy Hilfiger polo. They were very popular. American Eagle. I never did American Eagle. Oh, Abercrombie and Fitch never did that. I never did any of those brands. I just remember them being really popular in the '90s.
Yeah, the only ones that I remember having, I did have a pair of polo jeans, and I remember them not lasting the way I thought they should. But I did have American Eagle at the time too, and those did fine.
Do you remember the popularity of the painter? Is it the painter? Carpenter pants.
Yes, I had multiple pairs.
Me too. Oh my goodness me. I mean, you weren't cool if you didn't have that hammer loop on your pants.
Did you ever actually try to walk around with a hammer there?
Oh, for sure. For sure. It's terrible. It's not
practical at all.
I have to, so in retrospect, because I've thought about this as an adult, and the conclusion I've come to is that the hammer loops on those in the carpenter style jeans that were made in the 90s for fashion purposes was probably not the way the hammer loop was designed when carpenter pants were for carpenters. And I'm thinking that there was more material in the loop, and so it lost its value. Whereas if you had I feel like if there was a tighter loop, if the loop would have been tighter, the hammer would not have moved around nearly as much, just enough to be able to just slide the handle in, and that's it. And so, but at the same time, I have, I do, I have, like I said, over the weekend I was doing some work. I definitely put wrenches and screwdrivers in my pockets, in like various pockets, and not my hand pockets, but various pockets on the shorts that I was wearing, and it does prove to be helpful. So that's my guess, but I'm not 100% sure. But I know Tommy Hilfiger had to make the loop big enough for them to sew in their logo patch.
Right. I think U.S. Polo Association was a brand that did the same kind of thing.
I remember seeing a guy who had a pair, and the loop wasn't even denim fabric. It was like maybe like a high density or red. I just remember seeing it was a red fabric. It was a different kind of fabric. It was probably like a nylon weave, and it had woven into it U.S. Polo Association. But in my head I always thought a polo assassin. And I wasn't sure if it was in my head, I wasn't sure if it was like somebody that assassinated polo players or a polo player that moonlit as an assassin. Wasn't sure. Still haven't sorted that out. One of my brain's greatest mysteries.
Sounds like the beginning of a screenplay.
It'll be a terrible movie. Speaking of, there was a movie that came out maybe this year with the actor who's quite good, who's English and German. He was in Inglourious Bastards. He's been compared to, I'm saying these things until I can remember his name, but he was compared to Laurence Olivier. Ringing any bells?
Not off the top of my head. Do you remember the premise of the movie? I might remember it from that standpoint.
He was an assassin.
You're not thinking about Henry Cavill, are you?
No. Good actor. I like Henry Cavill.
I was just gonna say I don't think there's any German ancestry for him.
No, I think he's full on British. He was in another tangent here. He was in a movie called Argyle.
Yes.
It's a terrible movie. Don't watch it. It is very much bait and switch. The trailer makes it look like a cool, like sort of Henry Cavill spy movie with John Cena thrown in, and then you watch it and I'm like, not good at all. I was very disappointed with it. The actor that...
I don't even remember the trailer for that one.
Watch the trailer. The trailer's satisfying, but just know that that's not what the movie is. The movie is... It's like the most bait and switch trailer movie I've ever seen. the actor that I was trying to think of was Michael Fassbender,
Okay.
and the movie came out last year. I was mistaken, not this year. The movie that I was thinking of was called The Killer, and it was a Netflix movie. I was pretty excited about it. It was directed by David Fincher, and it's worth watching, but I didn't. The ending just was a letdown for me, and that's really all I'll say about it. But now I have forgotten why I brought up Michael Fassbender, other than he was an assassin in the movie. I can't remember if there was any more that I wanted to say about that. So
I don't even remember seeing that one come across my radar either. I've noticed over the past couple of years, I have not kept up at all with general media releases because we've circled through different series and stayed fairly up to date or fairly current, at least with what's out there. But we've spent more time going back and trying to go through some of the things that we had started and never finished.
yeah,
So I just haven't kept up with current releases.
yeah. Sorry, I just got real concerned for a moment because while you were talking, I didn't see any waveform on Audio Hijack on my side, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And I was like, "It says stop," so I know it's running. But I was concerned because like the application recording for FaceTime is not working today for some reason, which doesn't matter. But
Interesting. Mine is.
This happened once before, and then the next time I used it, it was fine. So I don't know. It's not.
And honestly, at this point, I've gotten good enough at lining it up without it that it's.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's not the important one. So, anyway, I would say The Killer. If you like Michael Fassbender, The Killer is worth the time put into it. I think he plays opposite. Well, I don't want to say who the actor is, and I don't want to say where it happens, but there's another actor in the movie that most folks that watch and pay attention to movies would recognize, and they have an amazing scene together. But I just remember when I was done with the movie, I was like a little disappointed, but it's worth it to see that scene. So that's my miniature review of that movie.
Have you watched Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare?
I have not, but it sounds interesting.
So I was just thinking, because I mentioned Henry Cavill, he is in that one. And I do not remember the guy's name that is playing Jack Reacher in the Amazon series. But he's also in it.
It's not the guy from The Office, is it?
I don't think so. Big hulking tower of a guy, but I don't know what else he's done.
No. Yeah, that's not who I'm thinking of. Anyway.
Oh, you were thinking of Jack Ryan with Krasinski.
And you said Reacher, didn't you?
It took me a second to put the pieces together.
Yeah, no, and I didn't catch that I made a mistake there. Jack Reacher. That was Tom Cruise at one point, wasn't it?
Yeah, the film adaptations were Tom Cruise.
Okay, yes.
And the Amazon series brought in a guy that is a behemoth of a man, apparently.
Okay.
And but he's been great. I just don't remember his name. But anyway, Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare takes place during World War II, and it's like a group of assassins.
It looks really good.
I had really strong Inglourious Bastards vibes when I first heard about it, but I started to watch it. I didn't get very far because I realized I was exhausted and I was going to pass out. So I stopped and just said, no, I'll come back to it because I was too interested already in what was going on. So I planned to watch it.
Where did you watch it?
In Plex. I have a.
Okay. Oh, you have
bought it. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Okay, cool. That makes it easy. I will check this out because it looks quite good. Guy Ritchie, nice.
Yes.
In the World War II. Not that it's related at all, but because of World War II, it made me think of Operation Mincemeat. which is another Netflix movie. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it.
I have not even heard of it. So
it's based on a true story about how the I guess it was the British Secret Service or their equivalent of not the Secret Service. We'll just say military intelligence. I don't know what level, but it's basically a story about their military intelligence, basically trying to trick the Nazi the Nazi intelligence by laying out various false papers to outwit the Nazis, and it's quite good. Like I said, Colin Firth was in it. Colin Firth starred in it, and I don't know if you were familiar with Matthew McFadden. I think he came to prominence for his role in Succession, which is it's definitely worth that show's definitely worth watching. But it's funny because he does such a great. He's British, but he does a fantastic American accent, and then to see him do star in a role as a British character, play with his actual accent, it's like it's hard to tell which one he's putting on if you don't know, and that was kind of cool.
Seems like I recognize the name, so I probably, if nothing else, have at least come across references to him in Succession.
Yeah, I hope that he seeks out and receives a lot of work because the quality of his acting is top notch. Now I was trying to figure out if there was anything else. I watched a good television, another Netflix show that was quite good, called Nobody Wants This, and it starred Kristen Bell and Adam Brody. It's kind of a romantic comedy show where Kristen Bell plays this podcast host, agnostic podcast host who meets and starts dating a rabbi, and it's kind of an interesting. It's an interesting show. It's cute. It's funny. A little bit thought provoking. Recommend that one. It's a quick watch.
I have to add it to the list. We've been watching Lucifer. Have you watched it at all?
Which one?
Lucifer.
I know about it, but I haven't watched it. That's somewhere on my list. Yes.
Yeah, we. I don't remember why we decided to start it, but it was. It had been on the list anyway, and so we started it, and then it just kind of caught us because of. And I'd say it's the way they weave character development in with these figures that it's just in a way that's really, really well done. And it's tough to kind of describe until you've seen it, but it was very quickly something that kind of grabbed attention because it didn't try to take itself seriously or too seriously, but also tried to tackle some serious questions. And I like that combination.
I'm certainly interested in the show. I know about it. I've seen it, and so I might have to move that up on my list a little bit. I did also ran by something about the movie Operation Mincemeat, and it looks like maybe this is like in World War II. This is where the origins of MI5 began. So, and apparently MI6 is not a real thing.
I wonder if it's not a real thing or not an acknowledged thing.
Yeah, that's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
There is a show it's a movie that I really, I'm eager to watch, and I've sort of been saving it for like a certain occasion, but at some point I need to go ahead and start watching the Horizon, an American Saga, starring Kevin Costner.
I'm not familiar.
It's on HBO right now. But I think it's kind of what took him away from Yellowstone. I know that there were other, money and story and delays that have, people have careers and they want to move on. And, if you think about it, actors, even, top A-list actors are, independent contractors. They have to stay, they have to take, they have to be, an actor like Kevin Costner can, at this point can lose his career or end his career before he wants to. And so, you got to be careful. But I think that was the case I think the case even with the, top A-list actors, that's the case for their entire career. I can remember, I'm blanking on his name. He was in The Mummy and George of the Jungle and Airheads. I'm listing his terrible movies and not his good movies. Brendan Fraser. Like he was in the late 90s, early 2000s, promising actor, looked like he was going to have a significant career, and then it sort of fell by the wayside and it went nowhere as the 2000s wore on. And it wasn't until just a few years ago he was in a movie called The Whale, either Whale or The Whale, and won an Oscar for his performance. So he started out like promising career. I don't know. I can't remember. I remember at one point reading about it, but his career languished for at least a decade and a half, and then he bounced back. I don't know that he's done anything since The Whale, but I don't really think about things like that, or actors having to make calculated decisions on what roles they take, other than maybe someone who very obviously is like, well, I don't want to be typed, I want to play, I need to do something different than this one. I'm known for this one, and if I do too many roles like this, I'll be typecast. So like Mario Lopez is typecast as the Dimple.
Yeah, I think he embraced it pretty well, though. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, but his career. Well, I don't know that he was a great actor to begin with. He wasn't, but his career was.
From everything that I gather, he was a great personality.
Yes,
which would explain why his career has taken the turn that it's taken.
Yes, and then another, I guess, someone to compare. It's Vince Vaughn, right? Vince Vaughn.
Yes.
Vince Vaughn. Yeah, he pretty much every movie I've ever seen him in, he's the same character from Swingers. Like I've never not seen him play that fast talking. He talked himself into trouble, talked himself out of trouble. Like I've never seen him not be that character from Swingers.
And we talked about this before because Adam Sandler recently was very, very similar up until he decided to do something different. And Jim Carrey, I think those were the two examples we used.
We did use those. Yeah. Punch Drunk Love was the first one that Adam Sandler was like, hey, I can do, I'm doing these movies because they're fun, but I also, I want to do something serious. And he did. And so, anyway, I can't remember who we were talking about before. I mentioned Mario Lopez. Mario Lopez derailed me.
Yeah, I wasn't paying close enough attention to recall that.
That's okay.
Because as we were talking about typecasting, like the one that keeps coming to mind recently has been Jason Statham, because he was always playing the tough guy role, and then along comes a series of different films where he's just all over the place.
The Meg and the Meg 2, right?
Well, I was thinking of...
No, I'm kidding. He was a tough guy in those movies.
Yeah, the Knives Out films, it's not necessarily a tough guy. It's very just a different character than normal. But then what's the one where he plays the very flamboyant homosexual guy? I don't remember the name of the film off the top of my head.
Goodness, okay. First of all, I don't remember him being in Knives Out, and that's a mistake on my part.
Oh no, never mind. That was Daniel Craig. I'm sorry. I'm getting them crossed.
Oh, okay.
Now I'm trying to remember which one was the one with Statham, because he did the same thing, but I was in my head. I was picturing Daniel Craig, not Jason Statham.
Gotcha.
I'll go look it up later. But there's one that stands out that I remember him doing something different than what he's normally done.
Gotcha. Was Statham was he in a Guy Ritchie movie?
He was in a couple. He was in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
And Mean Machine.
I haven't seen that. I've seen Lock, Stock, and Snatch, but those are two movies I actually want to go back and rewatch because when I watched them, it was in my early 20s, and I feel like I didn't quite get them, and I feel like they deserve a rewatch on my part. So,
I mean, his character in uh, Lock, Stock, and in Snatch, I would say, is a little bit different as well. But you can see the transition from that into the tough guy roles.
right. And I remember. So one of the thing I remember about Lock, Stock was there's a. I'm trying to remember the name of the actor. Because he used to be a footballer. I can't remember who he played for, but he has the. I think he has the record.
Vinny Jones.
Yes, thank you. He has the record for the quickest sending off in Premier League history. Like he got a red card within less than 10 seconds.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Like he was, he was noted for that. I was trying to pull that up real quick, but he is yeah, I don't remember. I think he played for a few different teams, but yeah, he has the fastest sending off, fastest red card in EPL history.
So going back and looking at Statham's filmography, I think I was just crossing him and Craig when I had it in my head. I don't think Statham's actually done anything that I would say is that drastically different.
Okay. So what's the movie that you were thinking of with Daniel Craig?
So Craig did Knives Out.
Yes, I remember him.
And that's a bit of a departure when you think about Bond. But there's one that's upcoming. I don't think it's officially been released yet, but it's called Queer.
Oh, interesting.
If it hasn't been released yet, it's slated to be released this year. And I know it's very current.
All right. I have to tell you about, because I think you'll find this interesting. Vinnie Jones is known for his quote-unquote hard man image on the pitch. He was sent off 12 times in his career, as well as holding the record for the quickest booking ever in a football match, being booked just after 5 seconds for a foul on the opposition player, Dane Whitehouse, in an FA Cup tie between Chelsea and Sheffield United in 1992.
What did he do? Did he just run out and punch him or something?
I don't know. It doesn't say. I all I can imagine is the ball went into play and he immediately committed a dirty tackle. That's what.
Yeah, like a high boot.
High boot, like just came like is anticipating the ball coming in. He's running on the pitch and goes straight for the player. That's what I imagine, but I don't know. It doesn't go into detail, but I can't imagine that clip isn't available somewhere.
Yeah, well, we'll have to look for it, find it, because now I'm curious.
I learned about him being a footballer by actually watching some old episodes of Top Gear. He was a star on he was a star in the segment of the time trial in a reasonably priced car. Are you familiar with the show?
I'm familiar with it. I never really watched it that continuously or anything, but I would catch episodes here and there.
Yeah, so he that's where I learned about it because it was a topic of discussion in the interview portion of that segment. And
so I think I learned about it in discussion of Mean Machine, or maybe not discussion, but just commentary. Because Mean Machine is a remake or a reimagining of The Longest Yard, but with football instead of American football.
Ah, interesting. That's I'd check it out.
It's in Plex. Feel free.
Thank you. You make it so easy sometimes. I was gonna say I never watched the original Longest Yard. I wasn't interested at all. But I did watch the remake and I enjoyed the remake. I was thinking about it. It's kind of like, it was the right humor. It was in vogue at the time as far as that kind of humor goes. And I think, we recently talked about how, or I mentioned that some Adam Sandler movies haven't held up as well as I thought they would. But yeah, so and I don't think the remake of The Longest Yard would either. But I'm curious to watch the Mean Machine, see the proper football aspect of it, which makes me think there's another movie like that called Fever Pitch. It was a book, and then it was a movie, and then it was another movie. The most recent movie came out 20 years ago with Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore, and it was based on the main character was a Red Sox fan. And when they made that movie, I think it was the Farrelly brothers that directed it. They got real lucky because they recorded that movie during the 2004 MLB season, which is when Boston broke their 80-something year losing streak. And so that was kind of fortuitous. And I remember that. I'm not a baseball fan, but I remember coming home after work and watching the Red Sox Yankees playoffs because it was really exciting because arch rivals, decades long streak for the Red Sox against the Yankees, who were just like World Series win after World Series win, and then they come in and they defeat them. And I mean, I didn't even watch the World Series after that. I was like, that was, I think winning the American League pennant was like the bigger victory there. The World Series was downhill for them. Not that it wasn't. Not that they couldn't. They had to keep their head in the game or whatever. I don't want to diminish what they did there, but anyway, that was based on that was a remake of a movie that was in the late '90s, and back to another mention for Colin Firth. He was the main character in that movie, and he was an Arsenal fan because the book was written by an Englishman, Nick Hornby, who was also an Arsenal fan, and it was originally written with Arsenal as the team.
Interesting.
Yeah. That was a lot of talk about. That was some deep trivia. That wasn't that important. It doesn't advance much in the world.
You know what I would like to see a remake of at this point is Smokey and the Bandit.
Ooh, interesting.
There are not many things that I would actually call for a remake of, but that's one that I'd like to see what a modern imagining of would yield.
I don't think I've ever seen Smokey and the Bandit, but what came to mind was Baby Driver.
I mean, there's certainly some things that you can say they took elements from. And so, I mean, Baby Driver to me was a good movie. Some of the Fast and the Furious footage and films have been good, and you could say are reminiscent of things that you could do. The Italian Job would be another one where there are elements of it. But
I like The Italian Job.
I do too. But there hasn't been something that's tried to tell a similar story, which was just a race or an unsanctioned race with regard to like law enforcement and regulations and everything else, but just a race across the country, and you try to avoid law enforcement and everything else, and first person wins. So,
is Smokey and the Bandit a Cannonball Run movie?
Very similar.
Okay.
And I think there was another element with Smokey and the Bandit as well, but everything that I remember was just tied to racing and hiding. Racing may be even a bit of a stretch. Maybe it's more, I'm possibly blurring parts of Cannonball with Smokey and the Bandit because I've watched them both growing up at an impressionable age.
Gotcha. I can see that.
But I do remember similar elements in both, and so that's what makes me think that it was also a race, but it may not have been a race. It may have just been transport.
When you mentioned Smokey and the Bandit, I don't know why, and maybe you can maybe you'll see it because you're outside my thought process. But I thought my head went to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and it's not just Smokey and the Bandit, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I don't think it's that, but somehow I know that they're not in my head. They're not related, but they're associated. Maybe
they were certainly released in a similar time frame, I think.
Yeah. So
I don't remember what was Clint Eastwood and Butch Cassidy.
It was Paul Newman and Robert Redford.
Okay, Redford. Redford is who I was thinking of. Not
Yeah.
that I get Redford and Eastwood mixed up. It's just
No,
that
no,
I never
no.
remember which one is in which film.
Right. I mean, it's we're over 50 years out of context.
Yeah.
So, I just I just remember, and this is a spoiler, but I just remember at the end of Butch Cassidy, I just remember it's like, I don't think they're gonna make it. It was I love that I love the way that movie ends. I think it's got such a great ending, but I just love it. It's like I just remember watching it and I'd be like, in my head I was just thinking, I don't think they're gonna make it.
I can't help but think of Blazing Saddles with that.
With the what?
Just with that thought.
Yeah. Every time so I want to go back and rewatch Blazing Saddles and some other Mel Brooks movies because I think they actually do hold up fairly well. But in my, whenever somebody mentions Blazing Saddles, because people said before, people would quote this line around me before I saw the movie. It's what I know the movie for, and that's like, where are all the white women at?
Yeah, I can see that. I think Men in Tights holds up pretty well, but
Men in Tights is good.
But I also think that that's the kind of film that should, it's fairy tale-ish enough that you could suspend.
I mean, you had to in the early 90s. Well, you didn't have to. You have to suspend your disbelief the same amount today as you did when it was in the cinema.
Right.
So there's not a lot of change there. I think Carrie L was really good in that. Dave Chappelle was in that, wasn't he? As a Chew? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Fun movie. Because it was, it was a good parody of a very popular Kevin Costner's Prince of Thieves. It was Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I remember that was significant when it came out. And I think it would be fun to, that would be a fun double feature. Watch those back to back.
I don't know which order I would want to play them in either.
Oh, you have to watch Men in Tights after Prince of Thieves for I think a couple of reasons. One, Prince of Thieves came out first, and it's going to be. I feel like it would be difficult to watch Prince of Thieves after Men in Tights, but it might be fun in a different way.
I mean, I've watched both so many times that I just can't. I can't separate them, I don't think, anymore. And so I don't know that I could watch either one without thinking of the other one anyway.
No, I don't think it's possible at this point. And that's kind of the point of a movie like Men in Tights. It's like, okay, here's this, good quality movie. And it's like, we're going to take everything about it that you were noticing, and we're just going to point, just like that line that he says, like, unlike other, Robin Hoods, I speak with a genuine, I don't remember the line, but Carrie L was talking about his accent in the line about his accent in the movie.
I do think it was genuine British accent was the phrasing, but I'd have to go back and watch it again to make sure.
Yeah, but it's it's a very good, it was a great line. Because it's like, why didn't Kevin Costner speak with a British accent? Why did they hire an American to play Robin Hood?
Well, my first guess as to why Costner didn't do a British accent, I don't know that he can.
I was going to say he probably didn't have a good one, and honestly, it's better to go with the American accent, and because if your British accent is that bad, I will have to say good decision on his part, whoever's part who made that decision. And
I think knowing your market, like most people would overlook the American accent in that regard.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't bother me, but it's a great joke for Men in Tights.
But Morgan Freeman kind of stole the show.
That's another one I should go back and watch because I watched it I was young when I watched it and I haven't revisited it. Because I've thought about it, and I tried watching Dances with Wolves because I think that's what got Costner his first Academy Award.
Probably. It's the first one that I remember, but at the same time, he was kind of older by the time I remembered him. So,
yeah.
He did plenty. What I'm getting at is he did plenty of work, but the first thing that I really thought of him as a notable, like remembering who he was kind of role was Dances with Wolves.
Okay, my first memory of him in a movie is the baseball movie. I can't think of it. Field of Dreams. I think that's the first thing I saw or noticed him in.
Yeah, I don't think I watched Field of Dreams until after I watched Dances with Wolves.
I want to say Dances with Wolves came out after Field of Dreams.
I'm pretty sure it did.
Yeah, Field of Dreams was 1989, and I think Dances was in the early maybe 19. It might have been the movie that he did right after.
Could have been. I was never big in baseball movies other than the major league films. Mm-hmm, so most of the others I just never watched until later. And that includes, what was the one with all the women?
I don't know.
Oh, it's such a good film too in retrospect. It's going to bug me. I will remember it probably at some point. But like even those, the only ones I ever watched were the major league films until much later.
So I don't. So I to this day haven't seen Major League or any of the movies in the franchise. And when I watched Field of Dreams, it wasn't like, oh, this is a movie I want to watch, because I remember my parents went out to dinner and was staying. They left me and my sisters at a friend's house to babysit, because I don't know, I was like 10, and they wanted to watch the parents there wanted to watch Field of Dreams, and I remember sitting there watching it with them. And it's like it wasn't an inappropriate movie or anything like that, but it was just like it's not I would have chosen Aladdin or something.
A League of Their Own was the one I couldn't
remember.
Oh
yeah, that was a good movie. I enjoyed that movie.
Yeah. I didn't want to not remember it and do it a disservice, because it was a good film.
Yeah, confirmed. Dances with Wolves came out right after in 1990, and Field of Dreams was 1989. I tried watching it. I didn't realize it was 3 hours long. I'm gonna try again, but I think at this point I'll prioritize his more recent release of Horizon to solve that. Because I didn't like Westerns not until I was a teenager. Like, not until I watched Tombstone. Tombstone was the first Western that I watched, and I was like, oh, I like Westerns. And recently, I still enjoy that movie. I don't think it holds up quite as well as I thought it would. Even like if you'd asked me 5 years ago. And I recently watched a documentary about Wyatt Earp, and I think the movie Tombstone is accurate based on the records we have, but I'm not entirely based on this documentary. I'm not entirely sure that the records we have are accurate to reality, and this is kind of interesting. The reason how I've come to that conclusion is some of the things that happened in Wyatt Earp's life, you're getting into tall tale territory. And the only records that were available are newspaper articles. Like, those are the only official records. There's no, obviously no pictures. There's no video. And, sometimes these newspaper articles are based on eyewitness accounts. Sometimes the journalist is available. And also based, these eyewitness accounts are also, or the newspaper articles are going to be based on, court cases, which are also based on eyewitness accounts. And so Wyatt Earp happened to live into definitely 1920s, maybe, I can't remember when he passed away, maybe 1930s, but he lived into the age of video, and he settled in Hollywood. He settled in Southern California, and I am fairly confident that he might have helped. He probably embellished the story of his life That's the conclusion I've come to after, uh, in my 40s, watching a multi-part documentary on the life of Wyatt Earp.
I don't remember what the first Western I saw was that I enjoyed. But I know growing up, I saw a number of John Wayne and Clint Eastwood Westerns. I couldn't pick them out from one another, generally speaking. I never really had an aversion to them. But then, just kind of a similar type thing, when Tombstone hit, it was the first one that really grabbed me.
Yes.
And gave me a greater appreciation for Westerns as a whole. And then Young Guns was the other one. So Young Guns and Young Guns 2 grabbed me as well.
Those are a couple I haven't seen. I want to go back and watch them. I want to say that I would have said, it is and isn't a Western, but it's not purely a Western. But I would have said Back to the Future Part 3 would have been my favorite, the first Western that I really like. Because it's a
Western.
It's a Western. It is, because by and large, the vast majority of that movie is Western setting. But there's enough of a twist in that Western that it's like, okay, it's not a pure unadulterated Western.
Well, it's not a period piece for sure.
Yes, that's a great way to differentiate it. It's, if it's not a period piece, it's just sparkling cowboys on horses.
It's like Wild Wild West.
I didn't watch that.
It's Rush Hour from a whole different perspective, basically.
I don't know. I found, I think the villain is, I found him off-putting, and so I didn't watch it. So, but I remember watching like Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, and finding that show to be entertaining, as well as Little House on the Prairie. But they're not really Westerns.
Yeah, I watched both of those as well. I would consider them more period pieces for early American life.
Yes, I think those are pioneer shows.
Yes.
And they're Western adjacent. So after watching Tombstone, there were, I didn't watch any Clint Eastwood movies, and I didn't watch John Wayne Westerns. The people, I imagine, your parents were probably the reason why you were exposed to them, and my parents just weren't interested in that. So, I remember my ex's father was big into John Wayne, but I still never ended up watching them. But then in the 2000s, there were a bunch of, I feel like Tombstone. I watched Geronimo, I remember that being a good movie, and I remember Desperado being a good movie, but I wouldn't necessarily call Desperado. Is it Desperado? The one with
Antonio Banderas.
Antonio Banderas and Salma Hayek. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's Desperado.
Okay. I don't necessarily think of that as a Western. I don't want to, not an American Western, because I feel like there's more cultural significance to it it's not fair to say, you could say Mexican Western, but that sounds derogatory, other than just saying it's a Western set in Mexico, like Zorro.
Well, Zorro was Southern California.
It was you know what? I'm mistaken there, because you could say it was Spanish. I didn't realize. So first of all, I didn't realize Zorro was Southern California, but it was Spanish occupied Southern California. So here's where I'm like I feel like I'm about to make some faux pas, and I don't want to make those faux. Like, I want to be, pay attention to.
So what I think is funny, because I understand wanting to give the different classifications their due, because they do feel different. But there's a point where you try too hard to find the right classification. And I would classify all of them as Westerns. They're just Westerns in different regions of the United States.
Yeah, I was about to say, they're all westerns, but not all American. Not all westerns are American.
Yeah.
All beers are ales, but not all ales are no. All ales are beers, but not all beers are ales. That kind of thing.
And I don't remember. I think Desperado was set in Mexico, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
I'd have to go back and look, but I know the follow up to that was Once Upon a Time in Mexico. So
I didn't realize that.
Desperado was set in Mexico as well, but it may not have. It may have been across the border. Irrelevant. I mean, it's still it holds the test of time as far as being a Western piece. It's just set in the region that it's set in,
and it's also not a period piece. It was more modern. If I'm not mistaken, it was a modern movie, or it took place at the time that it was recorded.
I would. So I guess that makes an interesting distinction between what makes a Western as opposed to something set in historically the West.
Well, I was just going to say, when we talk about Westerns, we're often referring to the United States, a region of the United States beyond the prairie, into the Rockies, beyond the prairie, sometimes into California, sometimes in the Southwest, post-American Civil War. That's typically what we're referring to when we say Westerns, but that's more of a conditioning, I think, that we have. Whereas, I don't think it's unfair to call, even though Desperado is not a period piece, let's assume it's not set in the United States. I cannot remember. It doesn't really matter where it's set, because primarily the actors are not American. And that I find that really, that's part of, I think that's part of the appeal, to be able to see a different perspective on a certain genre, or a genre that we're conditioned to think this, what I just described as a Western. So I think you could call it a Western. It's just not not what we've come to think of as a Western, like Tombstone or 3:10 to Yuma, or the long one about Jesse James.
The long one about Jesse James, which
the assassination of Jesse James by the
the long one by the title, not the
the
duration.
title.
Yeah, I have not watched that one yet. I should.
It's not as good as the 3:10 to Yuma. So I remember. So I have so they came out relatively close together, maybe within a few years, but I have them associated in my head because I watched them pretty close together, and I just remember the movie. The full title is "The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford." I have that in my head associated with 3:10 to Yuma, and I just don't remember it being as good.
3:10 to Yuma was a great film.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I just, the assassination of Jesse James might be one I want to go back and rewatch, just to give it watch it with fresh, older eyes. But
Seraphim Falls, that was another one that came out in relative close proximity to 3:10 to Yuma. And I don't know that I would classify it as much as a Western. It's just set in the same time period. But that one was also good.
Yeah. So, the assassination of Jesse James and 3:10 to Yuma both came out in 2007. Within a few, maybe within a month of each other, it looks like. So that's definitely one of the reasons why I have that in my head. I felt like there was something else I wanted to say. Oh, yes. So I had been thinking, this movie has been on the back of my head for a few minutes. I think in my 20s, maybe late teens, I watched a movie called Broken Arrow. And it's not the Broken Arrow that you would remember from the 90s. It's a Broken Arrow from the 50s starring Jimmy Stewart. And he played a typical American Western post-Civil War hero. He goes and I want to say he ends up with some folks from the Cochise Nation. But I'm trying. I'm kind of blanking which people. It might have been Apache. I can't remember. But it's a movie where he's a white man and he becomes a sympathizer for the Apache Nation, and then an advocate for them with the U.S. government, and to the extent that he falls in love with one of the Apache women and is going to marry her. But the movie came out in so here's the spoiler alert for a movie that's almost 75 years old. It came out in 1950, and his character was supposed to marry an Apache woman, but I think the filmmakers were really wanting to do that, but they couldn't do that. They couldn't release a movie where he marries an Apache woman, so they had to kill her at the end. He's planning to marry her, but they kill her character off before he can marry her. And that really, like, when I heard about that, this was a movie I watched on Turner Classic Movies. Somebody recorded it for somebody was recording old movies for somebody who, I'm going to start this sentence correctly now. In the 90s, when my parents, for whatever reason, didn't want to have cable, it wasn't for money. I don't know. I think they just didn't want to have cable in the house. I don't know. My mom, I think, asked her sister, my aunt, to record some old movies, and so my aunt would just put a cassette in, record movies on Turner Classic Movies, and this one ended up on a cassette, and I watched it. I was entertained by it, amused by it, but there's a person who is giving history, a cinematic, cinema historical context as well as actual historical context for when this movie took place, and that was like one of those tidbits, or at the end of the movie, after the movie's over, he's describing, here's what was going, here's some historical couple different types of historical context for the movie, and that stuck with me.
It's interesting that the plot is very similar to how Dances with Wolves, just to bring the conversation full circle, how it kind of played out. I mean, not identical, not same groups, but still a similar premise.
Yeah, so I haven't seen Dances with Wolves to know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it'll be interesting when you do.
Yeah,
I didn't realize you hadn't seen it at all, but
I mean, I started it, and I don't know why I remember starting it, and for whatever reason, maybe I might have been sleepy or something like that. But
I don't think it gives away anything to say that Kevin Costner was a soldier who becomes friendly to Native Americans.
Right, that's how he got his. I'm assuming that. So I didn't watch it, but I did know that was what was going to happen. When I started it, I knew he was a Union soldier. I assumed that he, becomes a sympathizer, becomes involved with whichever indigenous people, and I'm assuming they give him the name Dances with Wolves. That's his. He gets into their culture enough, and he becomes respected by them enough, and because he showed them respect first, and I'm assuming that they give him the name Dances with Wolves.
Right, and I think it was Choctaw Nation.
Choctaw, okay.
I don't remember for sure. I might be confusing that with another one, but I think it was the Choctaw.
Yeah, so in Broken Arrow, confirmed it is the Apache, and their leader was Cochise. I don't know that there is a Cochise Nation. I might have been conflating that. But it does involve Geronimo as a reference. So
for the Apache,
yes.
Thinking about similar. Well, I don't know if I would say similar. Other prominent Native American films. The other one that keeps coming to mind as we've talked around them has been Last of the Mohicans.
That's another one I haven't seen. I remember as a child so badly wanting to see it because the cover of the poster with Daniel Day-Lewis, I mean, he just looks so cool.
It was a good movie. That's actually one I don't have. I do have Dances with Wolves, but I don't think I have Last of the Mohicans. I'll have to look.
That was one I just thought it looked cool. As a kid, I don't think I would have enjoyed it. I think it would have been too slow for me, or just, it's not for kids, for obvious reasons. Even without any of the violence, or I don't know if there's I don't know how much violence there is. I assume some. Even without any of this, if there's sex in it, it's still not for kids because the subject, kids are bored by this kind of thing. or this depiction, this form of stellar storytelling. But that made me, when you said Last of the Mohicans, it made me think of something that I have now forgotten. And if I get it back, I will say it again. But I don't know. I feel a bit cliche. I enjoy westerns. Some what's the word I'm looking for? Some unconventional westerns that I really enjoy would be like Django Unchained and The Hateful Eight. Have you seen The Hateful Eight?
I have seen that one. I have not watched Django Unchained.
Oh. I didn't realize you hadn't seen Django Unchained.
Yeah, it's one of those that I keep meaning to go back and watch, but every time I think to go back and watch it, it's late and I don't want to start it and then, pass out.
Oh my God. If nothing else, surely you've seen the, big funny guy. He's in, not Warlord. I can't, I'm blanking. There's a couple of movies that came out in the mid to late 2000s. One of them is it War Dogs or Dogs of War, and there's a Warlord movie. There's a movie with Nicolas Cage where he in the mid 2000s and he portrays a arms dealer. And then there's one with two guys that portray arms dealers in Miami. And I'm trying to remember. This is way too. I'm saying way too many words to try to remember this actor's name. Jonah Hill. I just should have looked it up to begin with. Jonah Hill has a cameo in Django Unchained. That's fantastic. He plays. He appears. He's in a scene with Don Johnson from Miami Vice, who is also fantastic. Too short. Both. I'd say both of these are I guess Don Johnson's not necessarily a cameo role, but Jonah Hill I would say is a cameo. And they play next to each other as clan members, and it's fantastic. Have you seen this scene? Do you know the scene I'm talking about?
I know the scene you're talking about. I have not seen it.
Oh, you must watch it. You can watch it now, and it doesn't ruin the movie. It doesn't really affect the plot much at all. But Christoph Waltz is in the movie, and he's. If you're watching Inglourious Basterds, you're like, that man deserves an Academy Award for that, for that performance. Well, he comes, he works with Tarantino again in Django Unchained and does win an Academy Award for his performance in Django Unchained, which is fantastic. And I think what's even better is that Tarantino and Samuel L. Jackson showed up for the moment where he got to do his star in Hollywood Boulevard. But yeah, Django and on top of that, I was going to say Leonardo DiCaprio has everyone in that movie has just did so well. I mean, I can't think of anyone who didn't do a great job acting in that movie.
And the main thing that I always think of, other than wanting to watch it, is the interview or snippet or outtake. I don't know what it came from, but DiCaprio and Samuel L. Jackson talking, where he's taunting him about saying the word.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's like I remember hearing that story. It was like a behind the scenes kind of, or the story I remember, or the story I read was that DiCaprio was having some difficulty, with how many times he said the N-word. Because I think that movie holds the record for the number of times that the N-word is said in a movie. And I remember reading that DiCaprio was like troubled by how many times he had to say the N-word. And Jackson came up to him and to help him through that, get past that and be like, you know what, this is just a Tuesday for us. And just, letting him know, you're portraying, you're saying you're saying this word and being, it's more than him just saying the word. There's some pretty horrific stuff that when I watched that movie, I was like, oh, it's like, okay, so Tarantino has a proclivity to show you things that he either wants you to cringe and but then also laugh at the same time and feel bad for that, or he'll just show you some things that are just incredibly cringeworthy. And I think the things that have been most cringeworthy in his movies have been in Django Unchained, simply because he showed us something that is truly horrific, and it's probably not at all embellished. The most horrific thing that you see a person do to another person in that movie, I don't think has any embellishment at all whatsoever, and it has to do with DiCaprio's character. And I can imagine, on top of saying the N-word all those times, that it also was really difficult for him to be play such an awful character. And so that's what I was thinking. That what you said made me think of that. Is that what you were referring to?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like I stole your thunder, and I apologize.
No, not at all. And I've started to watch the movie a couple of times, but again, it's the every time I think about it and finally go back to it, it's just get started and then realize there's no way I'm going to stay awake to finish it, and let's just go ahead and call it a night now type of scenario.
It's for how many awful things that Tarantino shows in that movie, it's all earned. Every bit of it is well earned, and it's done with I think it's done really well. It's not for it takes a lot to watch it, just because when you watch it, it's like he's not doing this to show us something to make us turn our heads. He's portraying like what things that they don't talk about in history class, things that you'd have to dig real deep in history to be like, oh yeah, this is I'm sure it's been documented. Like, I don't think these things are undocumented, but you're not going to get this in history class. This is like PhD level. This is what we're gonna talk about that slave owners did to the slaves. And but at the same time, he put in stuff there that's definitely not historically accurate to amuse us, and it's a really good balance, and I can't recommend it enough. And on top of that, he ties in Django Unchained, ties in with Kill Bill Volume 2. He makes a connection there. It's pretty cool.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. There's even to the point where I think because of those two movies, people were able to make a Tarantino cinematic universe to be like, they're all related, and that they weaved everything together. But similar to how that's been done with Toy Story, which I find amusing. But yeah, not Toy Story, Pixar movies. That was a lot of stuff about TV shows and movies.
It was. I'm not sure where to go next.
Well, I could tell you that I put in our notes, and this doesn't even have to be a topic, but I do want to mention it. Representative Green just saying stupid shit.
I saw that, and I saw it when it happened. Like this, you putting it in notes was not news to me. When I saw it, the first thing that came to mind is I wonder if anyone has mapped out just the ridiculously stupid stuff representatives have said and what the concentration of those being in the Southeast is.
Oh, it's I feel confident it's a pretty high concentration in the Southeast.
I feel like it is too, but then again, I mean, let's not take things away from like Colorado with Bobart. There are some states out there that can give us a run for the money. And so I really am curious about the actual statistical breakdown of how stupid representative comments are across the 50 states. What really, how do you quantify it in a way to show me where the highest concentration is?
So I want to say that there's a disproportionate representation in the Southeast relative to the rest of the country. That being said, there are fewer people in the Southeast relative to the Northeast and California, as for example, but a higher number of dumb shit comments made. So what I for our listeners, what I'm referencing is after Hurricane Helene tore through Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. Representative Green said, referring to Democrats, yes, they can control the weather. It's ridiculous for anyone to lie and say it can't be done. And I don't, it's like, I've come to expect this, but I was like, God, I didn't know you could be this dumb. But the reason why it caught my attention was the article that I read this in was a Rolling Stones article, and I think what amused me was the title of the article wasn't that interesting. It just normal, what you'd expect for elected officials and politicians saying some dumb stuff about a hurricane. But what really got me was the opening line, and it was some things in the world are inevitable. Death, sunrise, and Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene responding to tragedies with pure insanity. That's what really got my attention.
Yeah, I didn't read the article, but my first question after I saw the first reference to that statement was, I wonder if Tuberville endorsed it.
He did. Whether he did officially or just in his head, for sure he did. I don't think I have anything else to say about anything.
I'm not so sure I do either. The only other thing that I have to just kind of mention, back to my question about, the representation and dumbness and, statistics and trying to quantify it. The main reason I think the Southeast would take it anyway in a landslide is because you can't, if you quantify the number of insane statements as opposed to the representatives who occasionally say something insane, all you have to do is to combine Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tommy Tuberville and Katie Britt, and you can win that count in a landslide.
Oh, Katie Britt won it by herself after the midterms.
And you can lump Matt Gaetz in there as an honorable mention from Florida.
Yeah. I was going to say, it wasn't the midterms, was it? It was after the State of the Union, wasn't it? That's when she had her
like talk show rebuttal type thing out of her kitchen.
Oh my god, yeah, that one. She's probably way more intelligent than she was portrayed in that moment, and they were trying.
I don't know that I would give the benefit of that doubt.
I mean, there's some other people you put in that situation, and they're doing that thing. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I can't give the benefit of that doubt, but somehow I am with her. But I guess I haven't seen her because I haven't heard enough of her.
Well, I mean, I haven't either. But I just think about all the people I run into.
I know.
That are so just embedded in the cult of that one person that I don't have trust or faith in anybody from the Southeast being elected with a brain.
Right. I get it. Like, I can't argue. Like, I don't have any reason to argue your position, but I guess this is the difference between, this is where, like, I'm being stupidly optimistic.
the little bit of generational shift.
Something like that, yeah. Because it's not that much.
No, not at all. But I do think I do think the slide toward a more optimistic viewpoint is a little bit of a difference.
Yeah. We have a number of different ways set up for you to get in touch with us to provide feedback, ask questions, or just comment in about something we've discussed.
You can hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at untitled_hosts, or shoot an email over to untitled.hosts@gmail.com.
Or get in touch directly with Jesse at jthart.com, or get in touch with me, John, via telepathy.
If you would like to support our work or are interested in listening to our new after-show feed, head over to patreon.com/theUntitledPodcast and take a look at the options we have set up.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you've enjoyed the show.
And we hope to connect with more of you as we continue this journey.
That's a wrap.